Oh boy, I love subcommittees, especially when Brandon Gill, who's a real mouse Cthulhu, opens his mouth. And look, there's a subcommittee in the United States House of Representatives that's called the Subcommittee on Delivering on Government Efficiency. Way to remember that. Subcommittee on Delivering on Government Efficiency. And this week, that subcommittee swore in witnesses, seated a court reporter, and burned 2 hours and 6 minutes of federal time on whether or not Mickey Mouse is racist. The witness was Dr. Anita Hartig, and she runs the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History. She's a historian, and she has spent her entire adult life on protecting America's history. And the questioner was Brandon Gill, a Republican from Texas. And the shape of this exchange, it doesn't have two big ears on it. Instead, Gill asks, is Mickey Mouse racist? And Hartig responded, Mickey Mouse is not racist. And then Gill spends the next several minutes arguing that Mickey Mouse is racist. And he does cite a museum placard that notes Mickey's design carries vestiges of blackface, which is a well-documented thing, and that has merit. But it's also been addressed over and over again, and it is something that deserves an honest and open conversation. But no, right now, Mickey Mouse, as we know it, is not racist. But this jackhole doesn't care for nuance. So he asks, so Mickey Mouse is rooted in racism, is that your testimony?
Is Mickey Mouse racist?
Mickey Mouse is not racist.
It's not racist. According to the Smithsonian Institution, one of your exhibits referenced Mickey Mouse as representing, quote, vestiges of longstanding traditions of blackface minstrelsy. Would you describe that as racist?
No, the historical trajectory of the origins of Mickey Mouse tie directly
So Mickey Mouse is rooted in racism. Is that your testimony?
No, sir, it's rooted in minstrelsy.
Minstrelsy, and you don't think that blackface minstrelsy is racist?
It had certain unobvious racial overtones that have been well documented.
You think that that's problematic, that Mickey Mouse also has those racial overtones?
It's not for me to determine what's problematic, it's determined to me what's accurate.
The congressman was trying to get the historian to call Mickey Mouse racist, and she kept saying no, and he kept pushing. So finally he pivots. Then he asks her whether it is important to be polite. She says yes, because what else on earth would you say there? And he says that your organization, the Smithsonian, says politeness is a defining characteristic of white supremacy culture. Ma'am, are you a white supremacist? He also asked her, and I need the phrasing exact here because this could play very, very poorly. Quote, what is Latina power? End quote. He had to ask it twice because she could not believe he actually asked it. Then he asked whether it was appropriate for the museum to sell merchandise that says Latina power in the gift shop. He went after the gift shop of the Smithsonian for selling a shirt that says Latina power. His chairman, by the way, Tim Burchett of Tennessee, spent his 5 minutes on a display he described as a crotch harness, which resulted in the director of the National Museum on American History explaining to the United States Congress that the museum does carry a parental advisory. Lauren Boebert had exactly one topic, and it was abortion. And Burchett also asked her this, by the way, quote, Dr. Hartig, are you America first? Do you love America? He was demanding a loyalty oath, demanded of a historian under oath in 2026.
Director Hartig, let me ask you, are you America first?
I'm a very proud American.
That's great to hear. Do you love America?
I love this country unconditionally.
That's great to hear. At one point you stated that loving America is very complicated.
Mm-hmm.
We've done this, by the way, as a country before. There's footage of it. And it was scary as hell. And look, really, what the hell is wrong with these people? Our country is crumbling. We're at war. Billionaires are screwing us over. We can't afford rent or health care. And these people are insisting that our country's downfall will be Mickey Mouse and a crotch harness. So I've got to ask you, what's the hard part of American history that you are glad somebody taught you? And who taught it to you? Was it a teacher, a grandparent, a book you found on your own at the wrong age? My daughter, by the way, recently found the TV show The Pit. Fantastic show. I'm on my second watch through. But that show has led to a lot of difficult but important conversations in our household. So what about you? What has led to those difficult conversations? What part of uncomfortable history did you learn and who taught it to you? I would love to read 100, 200 of those. Now, back to this. The Democrats' witness in that room was David Blight, Yale, sterling professor of history, wrote the definitive biography of Frederick Douglass and won a Pulitzer Prize for it. The Republicans brought Heritage in Hillsdale. They had a Pulitzer-winning historian of American slavery sitting right there on the clock for 2 hours. And they spent their time on a cartoon rodent and a gift shop t-shirt. And all of this comes out of a 162-page White House report that Donald Trump's own Domestic Policy Council dropped late in the evening on 4th of July. It followed a months-long investigation, and they released the report at night on a holiday while the country couldn't breathe because of the stupid fireworks in Washington, D.C. that didn't even break a record. Nobody proud of a document releases it at that time. And by the way, speaking of that 250th anniversary, you got to remember that blue sealant on that $15 million reflecting pool renovation started peeling up. A chunk of the Freedom 250 stage came down on the National Mall and nearly hit the dancers that were rehearsing. And that is the literal jurisdiction of the subcommittee on delivering on government efficiency. That is their literal job. And instead, they gave 2 days to a mouse and a crotch harness. And Harding said one thing in that hearing that I love, and I actually keep repeating this. We tell the truth about the times that the country fell short of its own founding ideals. And then she said that telling the story fully is a form of respect for the American people. You know, yeah, our country, what makes it strong is that it's strong enough to be told about itself. Because a history you can only enjoy after somebody cuts out the middle third has a name. And that name is not M-I-C-K-E-Y. That name is P-R-O-P-A-G-A-N-D-A, propaganda. And the part they will never, ever see, Mickey Mouse being downstream of a minstrel show, is part of that story, part of the American story. That is the whole country in a white glove. Something ugly, though. It gets absorbed, sanded down, sold, loved by 1 billion children on 6 continents, and a century later, somebody has to put up that small card that tells you where it came from. That's the job of a museum, to give it context. Yet those people think that that card is an attack on America, when that card is America. And that's why I'm going to ask you to subscribe, because they are going to keep holding these stupid hearings, and somebody should stay in that room, and somebody should watch every hour of those federal hearings and count how many times they go into cross-examining a cartoon mouse.